Hello, second and fourth period. You guys are sharing a video today because you're doing, for the most part, the same thing. So we're going to use second period as an example. I can't remember who I used as an example last time, but that's okay. Your stuff looks pretty much the same. This video will be significantly shorter than last one. So Carlos, I apologize that the last video was a little over 30 minutes. I wanted to make sure that I had explained everything thoroughly. And I ended up not getting too many questions from you guys. So I'm assuming that my plan worked accordingly. So for this video, I'm just going to talk you guys through the last handful of things that you need to make sure that you do before you lay your head down on the pillow Friday night. So the idea is that you'll have everything done before you move into spring break so you can enjoy your spring break. You can enjoy your week off from digital learning. And hopefully when we get back from spring break, that Monday, we'll be able to all start off on the same page. So let's start here. We are in our classroom and we are going to click on the classwork tab at the top because that is the best way to figure out what you have going on for Friday. So you're going to notice a couple of things. For Wednesday, there are three things that have moved that are no longer there anymore because they are moving with you from Wednesday to Friday because we were continuing with the work. So if you look up at Friday, you're going to see a couple of things. You have the check-in with the video. So if you're watching this video, you have already clicked on that and you've already gotten your way into that Google form. So good job. Thank you. The next thing is a final checklist for the stuff that you need to make sure that you have done before spring break comes around. That is in the form of a Google slide, and we will go through that briefly in a second. The last couple of things, these are the things that moved with you from Wednesday. So you have the essential question number 2, classroom discussion. You have curiosity exploration number 2. And you have navigating the story. And you guys are going to see a behind the scenes look. I am adjusting this due date, because that due date was not correct. Okay. So first thing, let's look at the final checklist before spring break. The nice thing about this little slideshow is that the first slide is going to give you a reminder of what the things are that you should have done last class. So last class, you should have posted your first response to the essential question number 2 question that's in the classroom. So that was this little guy right here, this guy. So we still have 16 people second period that need to get that done. I'm not sure what fourth period looks like. You can look at that in a second. The other thing that you should have been continuing with last class was the curiosity exploration number 2, which is this little guy right here. And you should have been also continuing on with this navigating the story, which is this little guy. You should have done just the second column. Okay, so that's what you should have been working on last class. So this is your final checklist, entirely due Friday. I don't know why I said A day or B day, so you have time, because you guys are all straight up A day. So this is all due Friday before you go to sleep. So first thing, that curiosity exploration number 2 document that I just changed the deadline for, this one here. This one is due Friday, 11:59 p.m. Make sure you press the turn in button. One person in second period has pressed the turn in button. I should see 25 others press the turn in button by Friday evening. Okay, so make sure you get that done. Second thing, navigating the story. second column, rising action. That is due Friday. Okay, now here's the thing with this. You do not have to officially turn this in if you don't want to, okay? It's nice to turn it in so you know you did it, but it's not going to be due until after we come from spring break because there are still 2 more columns that we have left in that document that we're going to need to get done. Okay, so you can turn it in so you know you did it, and then when we come back from spring break, you will just unsubmit it so you can continue working with part 3 and then part 4. Okay, so there's not an official deadline for this. This is continuing work. Okay, and then this is the last part. This is the funky part. This is the new part that kind of goes along with your essential question number 2. Okay, so you should have posted an initial response in essential question number 2. So let's look at that real quick. Okay, so all of you guys are reading one of these books. So let's open up the question. So from my view, I can see everybody's responses. If you have posted a response, you guys can see each other's responses as well. Okay, now I'm already seeing a couple of things that some of you guys might need to go in and fix a little bit. So the first thing is that you need to make sure that you have told us what book you're reading and the question that you're responding to. So Elias, you're going to need to tell me what book you were reading. Since you're talking about immigrants, I'm assuming it's Audacity. Gavin, by way of the question that you chose to respond, we know you're doing Watership Down. That's good. Carson, make sure you let us know what the question is and then what the book was. Okay, so you guys can all self-reflect here. Go back and look at your answers and make sure that you have told me what the book is that you're reading and which question you're answering. Okay. Ideally, it is a lot easier for people to respond to your post if you include the actual question. Okay, so like Lena has included that she's reading Audacity, she's doing question 3, and she also told us what that question was. That's a lot more helpful. If I want to reply to Lena, it's a lot more helpful if I see what that question was that she was responding to, so I can understand the context of her answer. Okay, so what you guys are going to be doing is there are a handful of other people that are going to need to get that response in, that first response. And then this is the next part. Okay, so you'll be able to see everybody's responses who have posted. If you have not posted your first response yet, you're not going to be able to see anything. So you've got to answer that first question. The second part is going to say, so this is the part for that's due Friday, is that you need to respond to 2 people. Okay, but there are 2 kinds of responses here. So your first response number 1, needs to be a response. You need to reply to somebody who has read the same book as you or who is reading the same book that you are reading. Okay, so if I'm reading Audacity, what I need to do is I need to find somebody else who's reading Audacity as well. So some of you guys are going to need to be clear on which book you're reading. So like Lena, I see she's reading Audacity. Okay, I can read Lena's response to this question and I can respond to her. I can reply to her and kind of tell her my thoughts. Okay, so this is the important thing. When you reply to this person, you need to make sure that your response is thoughtful. Do you agree with what they're saying? Do you disagree with what they're saying? It is okay for you to disagree. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you to disagree with them. You just need to make sure that whatever your response is, that you are being respectful, that you're being thoughtful. You are more than welcome to be critical, but make sure that you're considerate in your response, and make sure that you are, if you make a claim, so let's say I look at Lena's response, and while I understand where she's coming from, maybe I don't agree with her fully. I can say that. I can say that I understand where she's coming from, where she said these things, but maybe I disagree with her. And then I need to tell her why. So Don't just say that you disagree with somebody. If you make a claim that you disagree with someone, please give us a couple of reasons for why you have some disagreements. And could you explain those things to us? Can you back it up with some support to justify why you feel the way you feel? So make sure your response is thoughtful. If you agree with someone, that's fine too. Don't just say I agree. And don't just repeat things back to people that they already said. So if I'm going to respond to Addie, I'm not going to say that, oh, I agree with what you said because of the same reasons. You're not adding anything new to the conversation. So you want to make sure you're kind of approaching this like it's a more structured, formal Socratic circle. Okay. So the idea is that if you're responding to someone, you're adding value to our conversation. You're incorporating your own ideas. You're giving us some things to think about. You're showing me that you have thoughtfully thought through an answer, that you've been thinking about this person's response and the way that you can respond to it as well. You're not just spitting back responses to check it off the list. Okay. So the idea is that we're learning from each other through this process. So be thoughtful. Okay. So your first response is going to be to someone who has read the same book as you or is reading the same book as you. And then your second response needs to be to one person who's reading a different book than you. Okay. So some of these people are you're gonna need to clarify what book you're reading. But so Madison, for example, is reading Audacity. Let's say that I was reading Watership Down. She could be my second person that I respond to if I'm reading Watership Down, right? So maybe my first person is Gavin because Gavin said that he was reading Watership Down and this is his response. And then maybe my second person, I'll go to Madison because she's reading something different. Hopefully this person has given enough information that you can more than adequately respond to it, even though you're not reading the same book. So with Madison, she's looking at some of the differences between Claire's time in the early 1900s and some of the gender equality issues that we have in 2020, whether they're similar, whether they're different, all of those different things. These are things that I can respond to even though I'm not reading Audacity. Okay, so Madison's given me enough context in her answer for me to understand where she's coming from and kind of what she's reading about, and I can adequately respond to that. So some of you guys might want to go back and look at your initial response. You can edit that response if you might want to expand on some of your thinking a little bit, so that way your classmates have something good that they can latch on to and give some thoughtful responses back to. Okay, so you'll have two responses, one to someone who's reading the same book as you, one to someone who is not reading the same book as you. And then you will be done for the week and you'll be good for spring break. So let's go back to classroom. We'll make sure that we've kind of hit on everything. Just as a recap, navigating the story, you want to make sure that your second column in rising action is done. Curiosity exploration, you need to make sure that you get it done and you press the turn in button. Essential question number 2, you guys want to make sure that you're doing that initial post. So 16 people still need to do their initial post. All other 10 of you guys, thank you for responding. The only thing you might need to do now is just go back, make a few edits, and then reply to your classmates. This is the checklist. And then this is your check-in with this video, which should be the first thing that you have done. So make sure that you checked in that you were here. Make sure that you watch this video in its entirety, even if it's a little long. It answers all the questions that you might have. Make sure that you state you understand exactly what is due before you lay your head on that pillow Friday night. And then as a friendly reminder, the last part of the form, you are more than welcome to put any questions here. I am pretty good at making sure that I email back fairly quickly. If you request a message to do like a message chat, please make sure that you're hanging out by your email so you can see the invite come through. If you request and say that, yeah, I have questions and I want to talk these things out, Oh my gosh, my dog is losing her mind. Do you guys hear my dog losing her mind? The neighbor dog is outside, so they're having fun. Anyway, apologies for the sidebar. So if you remember, or if you want to request a message chat, please just make sure that you are checking your email. So you are watching the invite come through. You'll get a link to join the message chat with Google Hangouts. If you don't plan on checking your email, please don't say, yes, I have questions and want to talk through things, because there's no point inviting you into a conversation if you don't want to be a part of that conversation. So I think that is it. If you have questions, you know how to go through that process. If you need any extra help, please let me know. I think that's about it. That should be good and get us to spring break. I'll see you guys on the other side of the screen.